The haunted crosswalk kicks things off in at number 10. Somewhere in South America on Google Maps, there is a crossroad, but there are some things you should know before you decide to cross the street at this busy intersection. Aside from looking both ways, before you cross, you might want to take extra precautions because you might stumble across a dark figure. According to the local legends, if you enter the middle, you will see everything go dark, and then you'll be met face to face with a shadowy figure known as the Crossroad Reaper. Well, here's a picture of the Reaper caught on Google Maps camera. Don't believe he's real? Well, why don't you try crossing the intersection yourself? And then you try to tell me you never saw him. Up next, number 9, we have the creepy Scientology base. The Church of Scientology has been involved in a ton of controversy over the years. From mistreatment of its members to its highly secretive practices, a lot of people are actually scared of this religion. For people that aren't members, it's actually pretty hard to know what exactly is going on inside of their buildings. One of their churches, called Trementina, is one of the properties owned by Scientology that can be seen on Google Maps over in New Mexico. Well, take a look for yourselves. You guys are looking at it right now. Okay, what the heck is happening inside of this building? They say that they use it to preserve books and movies, but honestly, who knows? They could be performing satanic rituals for all we know. Nuclear testing facility makes its way onto this list at number 8. Here we have a picture of a Google satellite image of a nuclear testing facility located in Nevada. So yeah, probably pretty close to Area 51. I think the reason why you should never visit this location is it's highly obvious. It's definitely not open to the public, and I'm not sure why you would want to even attempt to step foot near this location, and that's because it is full of so much radiation. Mushroom clouds can be seen up to 100 miles away in the distance, so this actually caused a lot more tourists wanting to visit Las Vegas. My idea of a good time does not involve slot machines and clouds of nuclear radiation, but that's just my opinion. It's actually really scary to think about it, that the fact that we are testing deadly nuclear weapons. Helltown in New Baltimore brings us to number 7. A Google Street View car managed to capture this image on their camera. Could this just be an equipment glitch, or could something more sinister be going on in this small town? Apparently people in this area are saying that there is a portal to hell in the area. Residents of New Baltimore have been reported that their little town has been taken over by evil demonic entities, so of course Google sent out a car to get, better pictures, more updated pictures, more accurate pictures. How about you bring them a couple of priests and it's time to bless the area. Next up, number 6, we have China's Area 51. What you're looking at right now could actually be China's version of Area 51. Is this real life right now? These strange white lines were discovered on Google Maps in the middle of China's Gobi Desert, and this image struck so many conversations online about what it could be. Most people believe that it's a calibration pattern for spy satellites, but then there are others that say that these lines prove aliens exist. These lines are located near the headquarters of China's space program. But unfortunately, we may never know the truth about what is really going on here. A very haunted bridge brings us to number 5. This is Booger Holler Bridge, and if you value your life, well, you'll never want to set foot or attempt to cross it, and that's because it is known to be extremely haunted. Legend has it that a father and son drowned while trying to cross the low bridge on a horse and buggy many years ago. And then there's another story about a woman and her child drowning when their car stalled on the bridge and the car was thrown into the river due to the strong current. People have even said that they can hear screams from the bridge, and people do satanic practices on it for some reason. So needless to say, the Google Street View car got close to the bridge, but they didn't dare cross it. Number 4, we have a creepy doll village. If you don't like looking at scary life-sized human dolls, then you'll never want to visit a small village in Nagoro, Japan. But in case you're curious, well, here's a taste of what you'll find there. Well, I told you that these dolls were creepy, but that's not all. Apparently an old lady will make a new doll every time someone in the village dies. So the amount of dolls outnumber the amount of people actually living in the village by about 10 to 1. I mean, could you imagine walking around at night and seeing all of these creepy dolls just staring at you? Couldn't they just be placed inside of an art gallery or something? This whole thing just makes me uncomfortable. So you know what, let's get the heck away from it and let's move on. Let's see what we have next. Scary underwater pyramids is up next at number 3. Well, this is an image taken from Google Maps that shows us that some creepy underwater pyramids might be lurking at the bottom of the ocean over in the Bahamas. This image sparked a lot of controversies when people said that these underwater pyramids can prove that aliens might be living among us. More reasonable people believe that these pyramids could have been made by an ancient civilization. But they also admit that we still can't rule out the existence of alien life forms, just yet. A nuclear fallout zone steps onto this list at number 2. Pripyat, Ukraine, has a bad reputation of being the site of the worst nuclear disaster in history. It's literally a ghost town with abandoned buildings that will probably never be lived in for a very long time. But the creepiest part of this town has to be this picture right here. Well, take a look for yourselves. It's literally a room full of old gas masks that were left behind. I don't know what's scarier, the amount of gas masks or the fact that there were child-sized gas masks left inside of an abandoned school. And topping this list, and at number 1, we have one of the most dangerous cities on Earth. This right here is El Bronx, Colombia. And even though the city is completely demolished now, it was once known as the most dangerous city on Earth. This was a neighborhood that was known for child prostitution and murder. Put it this way, if you found yourself walking the streets of this neighborhood, something awful would probably happen to you. Some of these buildings also had a lot of rotting murder victims inside, and gangs used to capture and feed rival gang members to starving dogs just to send the other gang a message.
At number 10, we have Mogadishu, Somalia. Alright, we're gonna kick off this list with a place that has all the key points in a place you do not want to visit. Do they have kidnappings? Oh, you better believe it. Tourists who make the mistake of traveling alone can often get a burlap sack put right over their head and be on a one-way ticket to Ransom Town. If you are an American, there is an increased chance of you getting scooped up, so keep an eye out. Actually, it is recommended that you travel with a bodyguard. Okay, so they have that, but do they also have gangs? Yes sir, they do. Gang violence is a regular thing and civilians are killed all the time. And the cherry on top is there also is a very unstable government with the military constantly walking through the streets. Not to mention the people are suffering. So unless you're traveling with military protection and you have the need to stabilize an unstable country, maybe choose Cancun for your next vacation. At number 9, we have the Siatram River in Indonesia. In places all over the world, resources are so tight that people are forced to exploit their environment. The Siatram River is a living representation of this. It's located in Indonesia and there's very little infrastructure around there for these people to live a clean and healthy life. So they resort to taking what they can from the land. This river is extremely polluted because the 5 million people who live there have to use it to bathe, water crops, dispose of waste, dispose of garbage, and drink. The river has been so polluted that any wildlife that used to call this place home has either left or died. It is terrible to see a place where people are forced to live without clean drinking water. At number 8, we have the Queen's Bath, Hawaii. There are beautiful beaches, parties everywhere, and enough drunk tourists to make a conga line all the way to the American mainland. But it's the wonderful attractions that can lure people into a false sense of security. On the island of Kauai, there is an absolutely breathtaking formation called the Queen's Bath. It is a natural pool formed right into the rock bed of the island. It kind of looks like a place royalty would come to dip their feet in while they drink champagne and laugh about stealing the world's resources. But this place is similar to a Venus flytrap. Gorgeous to look at, but when you get too close it can be dangerous. People will often go swimming in the Queen's Bath, and then a very strong wave will come through and either bash them against the rocks or wash them out to sea. There are tons of warning signs trying to tell tourists that they should not go swimming in this pool, but every year tourists either drown or need to be rescued. At number 7, we have Syria. Syria has been in constant turmoil for many years. First there was constant civil war, the rebel soldiers battling the government every single day in an attempt to liberate Syria from the oppressive government. This meant that warfare was commonplace in the streets, and then ISIS took over a major chunk of Syria, which obviously meant that the violence only escalated. Then the American troops had to come in and try and push out ISIS, which meant even more war. It seems like the struggles in Syria will never end. Can everyone there just call a timeout? Everyone just stop fighting for 2 minutes and then just be friends and see what happens. I think that is the worst advice I have ever given anyone. Yeah, Che, you can stop war by everyone just being friends. And that's why I'm making top 10 lists and I'm not in politics. At number 6 we have Oymyakon, Russia. Here's something about me. I love warm weather. If it's 40 plus Celsius and I'm sweating at home just from putting on my pants, I've never been happier. So this place would be hell on earth for me. Oymyakon is the coldest inhabited place in the world. 500 people live there year round for some unknown reason. They must like it when it gets so cold that your eyeballs freeze inside your head, which is a real thing that can happen. The temperature can drop to negative 62 degrees Celsius. That's minus 80 Fahrenheit. It would be so cold I would want to cry out, but my tear ducts would be frozen, so all I would be able to do is scream and pray for death. One of the weirdest things about this place is it's actually a tourist attraction. People will choose to go to the coldest village on the earth rather than eating pizza in Italy. If you're that kind of person, don't talk to me. I don't need your weird vibes getting on me. I'm vibing all the time. I don't want your bad cold vibes in my life, okay? One of the main tourist attractions at this place is a giant thermometer that will remind you how much fun you're having by showing you the lip slicing temperatures. And one time it got so cold in this village that the thermometer broke. What the hell? At number 5 we have Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. This one is a toss-up. Like, I would probably go to Rio. Rio's an amazing city. It's filled with some of the most gorgeous people you've ever seen in your life. They have the amazing Carnival festival where you can party for like days and probably fall in and out of love 10 times. Brazilian food is amazing. You can go to a Brazilian steakhouse and eat enough meat that you'll get meat sweats that soak right through your shoes. But Rio definitely has a darker side. Rio's one of the most dangerous cities on the planet. There is a ton of gang violence, with Rio being a major hotspot for drug trafficking and gun trade. You also have a good chance of getting kidnapped or murdered. So when you're picking your next vacation spot, you gotta decide how bad you want to see people dance on a float during Carnival. At number 4 we have Lake Nyos, Cameroon. Back in August of 1986, a giant cloud of carbon dioxide erupted out of the bottom of Lake Nyos. This invisible cloud of death spread fast at 50 kilometers an hour and ended up killing 1,700 people. This is the kind of thing where legends of gods and monsters come from. If this happened when an ancient civilization was living there, they wouldn't have known that this was caused by a giant carbon cloud from a nearby volcano. They would have thought it was some sort of demonic force and they needed to sacrifice things. They would have been afraid of this lake until the end of time. But thankfully we have computers to tell us what happened. A seismic shift caused gas from a volcano to come through Lake Nyos. This is normal, but the gas usually is released slowly, not in these massive amounts like this. Since this happened, scientists have developed a way to extract gas from the base of the lake, preventing it from happening again. But even though they're taking safety measures, you won't catch me anywhere near this place. At number 3 we have the Ganges River, India. The Ganges River in India is one of the most polluted rivers on the planet. If you thought the river Siatra was bad, it has nothing on the Ganges. This river is used for sewage, personal waste, and the waste of major companies. And get this, over 500 million people use this river regularly. Some people come visit it every day because they believe it has holy powers that can heal you, which is absolutely not true. The river is actually packed with harmful chemicals that cause cancer. From all the constant traffic of people visiting the river, it's only getting more polluted. There is trash that is left there every day from all the people that make the trip. And there isn't even a proper cleaning system, so the problem is only getting worse. At number 2 we have the Skeleton Coast, Namibia. This place has all the pieces of an environment that is trying to kill you. I mean, it's called the Skeleton Coast, for God's sake. They didn't call it sexy fun Margarita Beach. No, they didn't. First off, we have very harsh waters. The tides and waves are so unpredictable that you can see the shells of all the shipwrecks along the coast. Everything from major tankers to little tugboats can be seen broken down along this beach. If you're one of the people who are unlucky enough to get shipwrecked here and survived by swimming to the mainland, you would now be in one of the worst deserts on the planet. It is extremely dry with almost zero water sources and spans hundreds of kilometers. There's also this eerie fog effect that comes off the ocean and covers the desert, meaning you could be lost in a brutal landscape without being able to see 10 feet in front of you because the fog is so thick. That sounds like a pleasant way to die. At number 1 we have Caracas, Venezuela. Okay, for the number 1 spot we have one of the most hostile cities on the planet, so strap in. The entire country of Venezuela has been at war war with its own government for years now. Protesters are shot and killed in the streets on a regular basis, and all this chaos has seemed to be boiled down to Caracas. People desperately want their freedom from the oppressive government, and on top of that, there's an insane amount of organized crime. You have drug lords moving products through the city constantly, and hijackings are a regular occurrence. And it's suggested that you never wear anything expensive when you're walking through the street because people will rob it right off your body. So leave your Gucci sneakers at home unless you want to be walking around barefoot. To give you a little perspective, if you Google countries with the most murders right now, Caracas will be number 3.
Starting off this countdown, we have Costa Concordia. On January 13th of 2012, the Italian cruise ship Costa Concordia sadly crashed into underwater rocks. This resulted in the ship capsizing and sinking. Sadly, 32 passengers lost their lives in this tragedy, and Google Earth caught it on camera. It has photos of the ship laying on its side, which is a dark reminder of this tragedy. The captain of the ship ended up being charged with multiple counts of manslaughter. He was sentenced to 16 years in prison as people argued that he delayed the evacuation of the ship, and then he fled the ship and left the crew and passengers to fend for themselves. In our 9th spot, we have the disappearance. On November 7th of 1997, 40-year-old William Moult was reported missing after going out one night and never returning home. Sadly, the police had no leads as to where William could be or what happened to him. The case went cold for 20 years. That's when Google Earth found William. Basically, a housing development manager was using Google Earth to check out some properties when he saw something strange in a pond near the homes. Turns out this weird thing was William's car. The police ended up dragging the pond and retrieved his car. William's body was found in there as well. The only mystery that remains is how William ended up driving into the pond in the first place. In our 8th spot, we have the secret bunker. Hidden in the New Mexico desert is a secret bunker surrounded by strange symbols. These symbols were thought to be done by the works of aliens. Anyways, the bunker is located close to these symbols, and it's said to be the alien space cathedral of the Church of Scientology. Former Scientologist Ron Hubbard says that the symbols mark a return point for reincarnation. The bunker even has its own private airstrip for the church's leaders. In 2005, it was confirmed that this bunker does indeed exist. This bunker is said to be the place where members can travel to in the future from other places in the universe. Moving on to number 7, we have the Blood Red Lake. Just outside of Sadr City in Iraq, there is a lake that is completely red. Hence why it was given the name Blood Red Lake. The reason as to why it's red remains a mystery, but of course we have some theories. One is that pollution or sewage caused it to turn red. Another is that it's a result of the water treatment process. Whereas others believe that the lake is red from blood running into it from a slaughterhouse. To this day, no one has offered an official explanation as to why this river looks like blood. In our 6th spot today, we have the oil refinery. The Hungarian oil refinery Százhalombatta is so private that they wanted Google Earth to block them out. But instead of blurring it or barring it with a black box, they asked Google to have it colored green, and no one knows why. Now it just looks like a weird football field. A lot of people are wondering what they're trying to protect or hide from us. Hopefully they aren't trying to hide some illegal or shady activity that they're into. We're now at our 5th and halfway mark with the French nuclear facility. La Hague is a nuclear fuel reprocessing facility in France that opened in 1976. It is responsible for treating nuclear fuel from several countries. But here's the thing. Since 1997, Greenpeace has been trying to shut it down. They have been dumping 1 million liters of liquid radioactive waste per day into the ocean. That is extremely toxic for the environment. What's even more messed up is that the site wasn't always blurred out. But when people heard about the whole Greenpeace controversy, they had Google Earth blur out their location. This has led people to believe that they are still dumping this radioactive waste into the ocean. They just don't want people to see what they're doing. In our 4th spot, we have the prisons. Now, there are a number of prisons that are blurred out on Google Earth, including the Beaumet prison in France or the Almira Correctional Facility. Now, there's a number of reasons for this. The main one being so that criminals don't figure out the layout of these prisons. They are afraid that they will use this information to plan an escape. In fact, this actually happened happened a couple of times. Following a successful jailbreak at the Beaumet prison, France's Prime Minister of Justice was like, it's because they knew the layout of the building. So this resulted in the prison being blurred, along with a number of other prisons. In our third spot, we have the invisible jet. Just last year, a Google Earth user discovered something that sent the internet into a frenzy. The user claimed to have found an invisible US Air Force plane hiding in plain sight. Pun intended. Check it out. Crazy, isn't it? Now this was spotted at an Air Force base in Texas. Either this plane is invisible or semi-invisible because we can still see it, or Google Maps blurred it out to try and keep it a secret. Others say that it's just a glitch, or that it's Wonder Woman's plane, or that it's just a B-1 bomber with heat haze coming off of it. But I don't know, a lot of conspiracy theorists think otherwise. What do you think though? Let me know in the comments below. In our second spot, we have the giant sea monster. We really don't know what's going on in our ocean. Like over 80% of it remains unexplored, and with all the nuclear waste that's going in it, who knows what kind of beasts lurk out there? Well, one of them might have been caught on camera. This image is what appears to be a massive sea beast. We don't know for sure what exactly it is, but it was spotted off the coast of Antarctica's Deception Island. That's right, the island is called Deception Island. It's kind of eerie. Anyways, theories range from this thing being an underwater UFO to the Kraken, even the Loch Ness Monster, which, if it's Nessie, then what is it doing all the way over there? Anyways, I will say it looks an awful lot like a giant squid. Who's trying to make a trip over there to figure it out in person? Maybe we can catch this beast. I'm just kidding. No thank you. And in our number one spot today, we have the escaped killer. As you know from part 1 of this video series, Google Earth is a snitch. You gotta watch out because an escaped killer who was on the run for nearly 20 years was caught, all thanks to Google Earth. The man's name is Gioacchino Gamino, I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong, but he is a convicted murderer, mafia member, and one of Italy's most wanted gangsters. He had been sentenced to life in prison for a murder he committed in 1998. In 2002, he managed to escape prison. He then went on to live in Spain under a fake alias. Now, let me explain how he got caught. So basically, someone tipped off authorities saying that he was living there and that he owned a restaurant. So they looked it up on Google Earth, and although his face was blurred, they saw him outside his restaurant. They ended up tracking him down, and he was arrested on December 17th of 2021, so fairly recently. Starting off this countdown, we have Castle Black. Now, if you're a Game of Thrones fan, you might be like, whoa, Castle Black, is it named after the headquarters in the show? Well, it actually might be. This base, however, is very different. Basically, Castle Black is an American military base located in Syria. Sadly, it's not a castle at all, so the name is deceiving. But anyways, this base is for Special Forces operations. In fact, we only found out about it recently, after it was mentioned in documents obtained by The Intercept via the Freedom Information Act. What goes down in there is largely unknown. I actually think it's quite clever to name it after a fictional place from a very popular TV show, because when I searched it, the first page of sites are all about Game of Thrones. So in a way, it's hidden on the web. Moving on to number 9, we have Bohemian Grove. What happens at the Grove stays at the Grove. I feel like that's the motto they go by. The Bohemian Club is this group of rich men who meet in the Bohemian Grove in California every July. Among the attendees are past and present presidents, government members, and business leaders. What goes on there is really unknown. Some say it's like a cult. And rumor has it that they perform live sacrifices there. I don't know if it's humans or animals, but that's a no from me. In 2000, Texas-based filmmaker Alex Jones and his cameraman snuck into the camp and filmed this ceremony called the Cremation of the Care. Sounds creepy and looks creepy. He caught a bunch of individuals wearing cloaks standing over a large fire doing this weird ritual. What these individuals of high power do there is a big mystery. All we know is that they're up to no good. In our 8th spot we have Area 6. This is a top secret base that we don't know too much about. In fact, it was only discovered in 2016. Someone was on Google Earth when they spotted this weird airbase in the Nevada desert. It was unnamed on Google Earth. Obviously, the government didn't want us to find it, but too late for that. After that, it was confirmed that this was a government base. This base is about 12 miles northeast of Area 51. Apparently in 1945 to 1995, over 1,000 nuclear tests were conducted there. It's also believed to be a site used to test military drones. I mean, you can try researching all about Area 6, but not a lot will come up. That's how secretive this place is. And no matter what online articles say about this place, we will never truly know what goes on behind those closed doors. In our 7th spot today we have Pine Gap, Australia. Located deep in the Australian outback is Pine Gap, another top secret military base. In fact, this base has been named Australia's Area 51. So this place is used by Australia and the US government and is a satellite surveillance base. The NSA uses the facility to collect internet and telephone records. We found this out back in 2013 when Edward Snowden revealed some highly classified info on the NSA and how they're spying on everyone. However, conspiracy theorists believe that this base is home to one of the most terrifying surveillance systems out there, the Echelon. We don't know for sure though, and we might never know. Moving on to number 6 we have S4. Area 51 might not be home to aliens/UFOs anymore. That's right, you heard me. So theory goes that Area 51 has moved their alien life to a new nearby base. S4. They did this because, hello, everyone believes that Area 51 has aliens and UFOs. And if it's true, they don't want anyone knowing where they're being kept. So this theory surfaced after a lot of strange activity started happening at this base. People claim to have seen UFOs flying around the base and then landing nearby. Honestly, I don't even know what to believe anymore. Also, go ahead and Google it. Go ahead, try to find information about S4. What's out there is very scarce. So the government is doing a good job of keeping this base a secret. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with the unnamed base. This is another base discovered by Google Earth. Again, had it not been for Google, this base might have still been a secret. So this base is located in Saudi Arabia and is another base the US government has not recognized yet. It's located deep in the Arabian desert, meaning the government really didn't want us to find it. If that's the case, then they need to have a word with Google Earth because they're just out there exposing them. Now, according to 2 former American intelligence officers, they thought the base was a drone center. So it could be a base for Predator and Reaper drones. There is an airstrip there, so that does make sense. But still, we don't know for sure. And you need to count how many times I say that in this video because it's true. Like, we don't know and it's freaky. Moving on to number 4, we have the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. This base is said to be one of the most mysterious military bases in the US. During the Cold War, this base was where military scientists would reverse engineer Russian aircrafts. Even though the Cold War is over, the base is still in operation. They're now just moving on to other projects. What they're working on now remains a huge mystery. Some say they're building new spy planes there, or are reverse engineering foreign tech. We don't know, but rumor has it that this base is home to a lot of extraterrestrial activity. Conspiracy theorists think that this place is where scientists reverse engineer alien technology. That would be absolutely insane if that's true. So I hope it's not. Coming in at number 3, we have Tolicha Peak Electronic Combat Range. Yeah, you heard me correctly. I've never heard of electronic combat until now, but this is the place where pilots get trained to deal with electronic warfare. In case of an attack, they know how to properly respond and fight back. Now, it's unknown how old this base has been around for, but it was found in images from the area dating back to 1984, so maybe around then or the 1970s. But the images were blurry, so they can't verify that for sure. And that's all we know about this base. It's so low-key that it's actually nearly impossible to spot on a map. Again, even Google has barely any information out there for me. In our 2nd spot, we have Harvey Point Defense Testing Activity Facility. That was a mouthful. Harvey Point is a military base owned by the Department of Defense. It's located near the city of Hartford in North Carolina. And apparently living near there is an absolute nightmare. People have described black helicopters constantly flying over at night. And they often see buses with blacked out windows traveling there. Not only that, someone said, and I quote, "Mysterious trucks haul in old limousines and haul out bullet-riddled blackened ones." End of quote. Then there are the bombs. Apparently a lot of explosions go off there. Some residents wake up terrified by the noise. In fact, sometimes homes shake so much that they develop cracks. So this area is where they set off powerful explosions to apparently recreate terrorist attacks. They have been known to blow up cars, safes, I mean, you get it. Retired Sheriff Julian Broughton said, and I quote, "My son works there as security, but he doesn't tell me nothing and I don't ask." Over the years though, it has been revealed that it's also a training facility, basically spy school for the CIA, FBI, and SEALs. And in our number 1 spot today we have Dulce Base. This one is the creepiest place on this list. So the small town of Dulce in New Mexico is said to have a secret underground facility where they do a number of crazy experiments. The first time someone mentioned this base was back in the 1930s. From there, the rumors skyrocketed. Now it's believed that there is a 7-story compound beneath the city, and that's where there are human-animal hybrids and human-alien hybrids. Or that's where humans and aliens work together on mind control experiments. It's crazy. But those are just rumors. We're not even 100% sure if this base even exists or what. But guess what? This place is pretty close to Skinwalker Ranch. Coincidence? I think not. And there have been a number of UFO sightings in that area. Coincidence? I think not.